So I will get started. Welcome to the Spiritual Frontiers Fellowship April event. And tonight we're happy to have with us Victoria Loveland Coen. And she's bringing a message tonight on the spiritual truth to life through affirmative prayer. We'll learn some techniques, and I sent all of you a Word document. Did you get it? Did you get the Word document? Just kind of rate. Okay, I see some nods. Okay, great. And that will be a good reference. That's a good takeaway too, to have some notes to take away. And that's one of the things that I see as a big value with Spiritual Frontiers Fellowship is we like to give you tools that you can take with you, and then that will help to enhance your life. So I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. And if you're here for the first time, welcome. We're so glad you found us. And if you've been with us before, welcome back to the SFF community. My name is Smith Prim. I'm the co-chairman for Spiritual Frontiers Fellowship, along with Catherine Smart. Catherine is also our editor, our writer and editor. And Kim Kasdorf, he's with us tonight. He's our media director. Eileen Jenna, who is also with us tonight, is our program coordinator who does bring these wonderful speakers to the group. We all review our speakers and we try to bring people to you that we feel like is going to help enhance your spiritual and metaphysical connections in life. And so we're here for you. We want you to know that SFF is as a nonprofit, all volunteer run organization. And we're here to help you develop and enhance your spiritual, mystical, and metaphysical awareness and consciousness. We do this by sponsoring programs like the one tonight, designed to facilitate your personal growth and development and a holistic and spiritual approach to health and living. Tonight, I wanted to also make you aware that the program is being recorded. And if you don't like to be recorded, that's certainly understandable. All you have to do is just at the bottom of your screen, turn your video off, and you can just be a name and however anonymous that you would like to be. Before I introduce the speaker tonight, I usually like to do a 3-breath meditation to help clear our minds and help bring our focus to the meeting tonight. So if you'll join me, we're going to kind of close our eyes a bit, and we're going to do a 3-breath meditation. And so if you'll lower your eyes and then take one breath in, deep breath through your nose. And as you exhale any things that are left over from your day that are not necessary anymore, that you're ready to let go. And so you can bring your focus to the meeting here. And on the second breath in, breathe in love and light into your heart and into your mind. And when you exhale whatever's left over of any other things that you want to let go, that will help you open your heart and bring your focus to the meeting. And on the third breath, it's all love and light, and breathe that in. Fill your heart and your mind. And exhale. And welcome back. So tonight we have the Reverend Victoria Loveland Coen with us, and she's going to share. She's got a book out. Do I have the book handy? I know that she'll mention it. It's called Breakthrough. It's a complete guide for getting unstuck and realizing your dreams and manifesting your desires. So, and that's a big part of the meeting tonight. It's not just prayer. It's about learning the ways to manifest the things that you want. A little bit about her, the affirmative, many of us on a spiritual path recognize that we live in a universe that's infused with divine presence, and we may even feel that presence within us, sensing that we are spiritual beings and expressions of the one. Why then do we pray? Do we address the God outside of ourselves? Why do many of us fall back into the old habit of beseeching a higher power or asking for favors from distant divinity, or perhaps even giving up on trying and not praying at all? I definitely have done the Foxhole prayers myself in the past, especially when I was in school and there was a test the next day. It's like, hey, just help me pass this test. So the affirmative prayer is a powerful approach that shifts our focus from separation to oneness, from lack to abundance. It's rooted in the understanding that we are expressions of divine source energy, and this practice aligns us with the infinite good already available to us. Through tonight, Reverend Loveland, we want to thank her for empowering us with her teachings on the prayer technique. I wanted to mention a couple of things too. We have an Eventbrite that's available on our website for inspiring sessions with Victoria that will lead to affirmative prayer, allowing you to experience its profound energy. And if you're ready to bring spiritual truth and tangible reality, this is a conversation you won't want to miss. So it is, can you tell me again when that was? Catherine, that was our next session.
Our next session is May 1st, our first Thursday of the month. And that's our next monthly program, which happens the first Thursday night of the month. And it'll be on the Enneagram. And we'll have that information up on our website soon. And I do want to welcome Reverend Victoria to Spiritual Frontiers Fellowship, because she's actually my minister at Unity Center of Peace in Chapel Hill, where she's the senior minister there. She's also an interfaith minister. She's been participating in New Thought and Ancient Wisdom for over 40 years. She's an amazing talker, speaker, and just appreciate so much her coming to speak with us tonight. So thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to speak and to share what I have with all of you amazing people. And in particular, Catherine, I really want to thank you. I've really gotten to know you over the past couple of years, and I just adore you. So
thank you so much.
So thank you for doing this, and I look forward to getting to know you guys a little better too. Am I assuming correctly that most of you have been on a spiritual path for a while? Yeah, okay, yeah. So, for many of us on a spiritual path, there's kind of a gradual awakening to this idea that we are one with this higher presence, right? This divine consciousness, this source energy. And thank you, Smith, for starting this meeting with that, opening, connecting with that presence and releasing, the temporary world for right now, and just like going in. I think that's always so important, to go in and connect with that presence and be present in that energy. So it really is, that's great. So we're aware of this. I guess in our spiritual path, we become increasingly aware of this idea that this divine essence is not only within us, but we're an expression of it, that in fact, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. You've probably all heard that term before. I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. And so when we continue on this path, we begin to let go of the idea that we're a victim of the world, right? They're doing it to me. The world is all doing this to me. We let go of that, and we begin to mature spiritually, and we become empowered as co-creators with the universe, right? So, but the thing is, for many of us, that the way we pray, as Smith was saying in the introduction, it sort of reflects this older idea of a power outside of us that we must beseech, right? And if we're lucky, our prayers are answered. And if we're not, then, well, maybe we didn't try hard enough, or maybe we feel that we're not deserving of something, and by the way, God is really busy with important stuff, so maybe we shouldn't be bothering him at all. I know some people think like that. So I think, you know, some pray in this outmoded way because there's just not an awareness that there's a different way to do this. But there is. And it's effective. And that's what I want to share with you tonight. So thank you for also sharing my bio, but I kind of want to go a little deeper into my background to kind of let you know how I've sort of worked with these principles from pretty early on. So I grew up in Southern California, that in the late 60s, early 70s, that was kind of a hotbed for spiritual, alternative spiritual study, exploration that was really kind of coming into particularly Southern California at that time. There was a Eastern influence, gurus were coming over to the United States and sharing their wisdom for the first time during that time. And the Beatles had gone to India to study transcendental meditation with the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, right? And the incense and the flowers in the hair and the love and the paisley prints, it was all kind of groovy. And me as a teenager, I was all over this. I loved it. And so when I was about 15, I asked my mother if I could be initiated into transcendental meditation. And to my surprise, she said yes, because she was a spiritual seeker as well. So we had this unique opportunity to have this spiritual path that we traveled together. So we found the one person in San Diego that did this, and we got initiated into transcendental meditation. And that has been my practice all along, although it's kind of morphed over time. I kind of do it in a little different way, but I still hear that mantra. How many of you practice some kind of meditation? Have some sort of practice. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So around that time, I also attended a yoga class, and yoga back then was brand new, right? It was very groovy, and young people were flocking to it. And I went to this big lecture hall that had been cleared out, and all these mats all over the floor. There must have been 70 people there. And at the end of the class, the leader was chanting Om, leading Om. And I started chanting along with everyone. And that's when I had a mystical experience. I mean, I left my body and I shot up to the top of the room where I joined all the other souls that were there. No one was in their body. We were all connected in one beautiful energy of love. It was just so amazing. And that experience lasted for, I don't know, a minute or two, maybe at the most, but it stayed with me forever. I still remember it like it just happened. And it sent me onto a spiritual path. How many of you have had experiences like sort of a mystical or a sudden realization of spirit? Yeah. Wow, you all have. Yeah. So you know what I mean? And then after that, it's like, okay, how can I know more? I want to experience more. Where can I get more of that? Right. So very often for a lot of us, that starts us on our spiritual path. And for me, I started attending, spiritual communities. And in San Diego, there was kind of this woo-woo community where we did all kinds of interesting ESP and parapsychology and fun stuff. And then that led me to Ernest Holmes, who wrote The Science of Mind. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then moving to LA after that to pursue a career as an actress, I found A Course in Miracles and other Science of Mind centers. It's now called CSL, but it used to be called back then religious science. Yeah. And that's where I took the foundational class. I took all the foundational classes where I learned to start working with the affirmative prayer practice, which they called spiritual mind treatment, but it's kind of the same thing. And then I finally found my way to Agape in Los Angeles, which is Reverend Michael Beckwith's huge, mega church, really. It's a very diverse, multicultural, international center. And that's where I took professional practitioner training and became a licensed spiritual coach, which is where I utilize this form of prayer, affirmative prayer. Then I kind of took some time off to raise twins, and eventually found unity when I moved to Chapel Hill. And from there, realized it was my calling now. I had to, go to seminary and become a minister. And so I first became an interfaith minister at One Spirit, and then took the rest of the training with Unity to become a Unity minister. And I've been there for 13 years now, if you can believe it. And along the way, wrote books, several books, and one of which is Breakthrough. I don't know if you can see, this is the book copy. This is my most recent book. And a lot of what I'm going to be talking tonight is in this book. And also I established a coaching practice, spiritual coaching practice. So let's now look at affirmative prayer and how it is different than traditional prayer. So traditional prayer, as we've said before, is sort of an act of supplication. It is beseeching an external power to intervene on our behalf. Please, God, save me from this. Smith, you mentioned the Foxhole prayer. Yeah, save me from this. Or please, God, give me this thing. I want this thing so much. Or please, God, take this thing away from me. You know how much I don't want this. And so it's often praying to a God outside of ourselves to change a situation that has become unbearable. And very often people pray only out of desperation when everything else has failed, right? Well, the only thing to do now is pray, right? You've heard people say this. So this type of prayer just reinforces the false notion that there's a power, that power of God is outside of us, that we're separate from it, and that it's capricious, that God is capricious, answers some prayers and doesn't answer others, right? Is that the type of prayer that you remember that you learn when you're younger, that time, right? And why are some prayers answered and others aren't? Does God play favorites? Do some people have an in, and are others God doesn't care about? So if God is universal divine love, omnipresent divine love, none of that makes sense. So there must be a different way of understanding. And there is. And that is the awareness that there is a universal divine presence that is within us, and it's creative. And it responds to our thoughts and our intentions and our beliefs. But most importantly, it responds to what we believe we can have, what we believe we can accept for ourselves. So if I feel, well, I can only accept just so much good, or I can only accept just so much health, then that's going to affect how I show up in life. Right? And then it will be reflected in my experience. The universe reflects that back to us in our experience. So that's the default, right? That is living by default. But we don't have to live by default. Fortunately, We have the ability to be intentional about it, to direct this creative energy in positive ways in order to live more expansively. And this is what affirmative prayer does. And it starts with the idea that it's all consciousness. It's all consciousness. Everything begins in mind. All form and experience in our world originates in consciousness, whether that's universal, divine consciousness, that's the macrocosm that creates the universe out of itself, according to its self-contemplation and intention, or it's our individual use of this same power, this same mind. We use the same mind. So we're the microcosm. And we're using the same creative mind when we are believing and thinking our own self-contemplation and intention is reflected in our experience as form and experience. So that's why we want to try to view our circumstances from the highest possible perspective and not get caught in the temporary form, because all of the experiences in our life are temporary, right? They all come and go, but we can really hold on to them and get really attached to them so they kind of become a pattern. But it doesn't have to. We can sort of let go of that and contemplate it from a higher perspective. This is what Ralph Waldo Emerson said about prayer. He said, prayer is the contemplation of facts from the highest point of view. So affirmative prayer helps us see our situation or our lives from the highest possible point of view. And it works by first unifying with Source. We first unify with Source. We embrace our connection with this divine Source and with all of the qualities of that divine essence. What are the qualities of universal divine? Well, divine order, wisdom, intelligence, abundance, limitless. The universe is limitless abundance. Love, peace, well-being, wholeness. These are the qualities of that divine essence. And that's what we are, because we're an expression of that. So when we pray from that place, that includes the answer to our prayer. So we're not praying for something. We're praying from the energy of the answer. Rather than praying for something, we're praying from the energy of the answer. So Charles Fillmore, who was a co-founder of Unity, said that prayer is the most highly accelerated mind action. It is an affirmation of truth that eternally exists, but which has not yet come into consciousness. It comes into consciousness not by supplication, but by affirmation. So we want to align ourselves with that higher energy of love, of divine well-being, of limitless good, which is already available to us. It's already here in potential. We're just not seeing it. So as an analogy, imagine you had an old-fashioned radio in your car. Do you remember those days before satellite radio? When it was just AM and FM, right? And if you were traveling in your car, you had this dial that you'd change. And when you're traveling, say you're traveling in your car outside of town, you're leaving town, and you go out, you're listening to a station, but you go out of range of the broadcast tower, and the station that you're listening to becomes all staticky, right? And I'm losing the station. So you have to start changing the dial. until you find another station where the signal is coming in nice and loud and clear and strong, because you're right in the range. And maybe this is the most beautiful music you have ever heard. So this is what we're doing with affirmative prayer. So if you are experiencing any kind of disharmony or fear or lack or limitation or illness, maybe you've just gotten far away from the signal that's broadcasting from your highest divine self, from the source of good. So affirmative prayer tunes the dial, tunes you clearly into that right station, that infinite love within you. It tunes you to that station where it's broadcasting clearly. So it's a step-by-step method for aligning yourself with the good that you're seeking, which is already here in potential, just like radio waves are always here. They're always present. We just haven't tuned into them yet. So we're tuning it in, and we become a clear channel for that signal to broadcast. Right? So I'd like to kind of share, the question always kind of comes up, well, where did this technique originate? Right? Where did this all come from? And I think I have some slides that I'd like to share that might shed some light into that. So let me try to go ahead and share that. And here, let's see. I have to go and share screen. There we are. Okay. Can you see this? All right. All right, so here we are. So, as many of you know, unity is part of the New Thought movement. And that emerged from the transcendentalist movement that began in the 1800s, the mid-1800s, with people like Henry David Thoreau, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Margaret Fuller, and Branson Alcott, among others. And these guys were basically rebels. They really were rebelling. They rejected traditional theology, which was a rebellious thing back then. And they came to understand that a religious spiritual experience can be experienced directly. In other words, you don't have to go to a church and have some, intermediary create this experience for you, or even read the Bible, that you can have the experience directly. That was their message. And that this divine self, they thought, is all around us and within us. It is our source. This was a radical idea back then, and that it was in all of nature. A lot of these people were very connected with nature. They were naturalists. They were also feminists. So there were women in this movement that had just as much power as the men. They really believed in equality, which was a point for them. So Emerson says, the material universe is an emanation of divine power, and the purpose of human life is for the soul to realize its inherent unity with Source. That the purpose of human life is to realize its inherent unity with Source. All right. So they understood that when we open to this experience and allow ourselves to experience it, not just read about it, not just theorize about it, not just talk about it, but experience it directly, that we will, as Thoreau said, we may live with the license of a higher order of beings. Yeah. Okay, so after the Transcendentalists, this was quite the movement that began to grow. And then other spiritual explorers began to take this idea, and they were looking for a way to make this idea practical. You know, these expansive, beautiful, profound ideas, they wanted a way to make it practical, right? How can I apply these ideas, these concepts to have a better life? You know, to have better relationships, to heal my body, to heal my relationships, to have a more meaningful work, to have more fulfillment and abundance in my life. I mean, if it's not practical, it's just theory, right? It's just a beautiful theory. So they went about looking for a way to create a method to make this practical. And so these spiritual explorers began to, they took these ideas of the transcendentalists and they looked not just to Christianity, but also to Eastern thought, ancient wisdom, and they noticed that the Buddha, the 500, BC, he was talking about this. And in the first section of the Dhammapada, which is the Buddha's writings, he says, all experience is preceded by the mind, led by the mind, made by the mind. Speak or act with a corrupted mind, and suffering follows as the wagon wheel follows the hoof of the ox. Speak or act with a peaceful mind, and happiness follows like a never departing shadow. You know, that is the original. And then these spiritual explorers looked at the Bible. And when they did, they looked at it in a metaphysical, metaphorical way, and, looked at the messages of Jesus as, opening to truth, rather than that is the only person who can experience that. A religion that, rather than about Jesus, is really about the concepts that he was trying to teach us. And in this in particular, therefore I tell you all things, whatever you pray and ask for, believe that you have received them and you shall have them. And that became the core message for New Thought explorers at this time. And this idea in particular of believe that you have received them, that's the tricky part. Because how can I believe that I have received healing if I'm so sick I can't get out of bed? Or how can I believe that harmony and peace is in my life if my relationships are in chaos? Or how can I believe that I have received an abundance of prosperity when my bank account is at zero? How do I do that? And so, some people think, well, Jesus didn't really mean that literally. But yeah, he did, because he was always telling us to look differently, to see it from a higher point of view, to lift up our eyes, see it from the mountaintop, see the higher truth, right? So these ideas are beginning to gel. They're all beginning to come together and to gel. And then we get Phineas P. Quimby. You have to say it like that. Phineas P. Quimby, because that's his name. And he was an interesting character. He learned mesmerism, which is a lot like hypnosis, right? And it's named after Frank Mesmer, who brought the technique into view. And it became like all the rage in the mid 1800s. It was very popular. And so Mesmer was putting people into a trance and giving them the suggestion of something in their physical body, a change in their physical body that they could measure, like raising or lowering temperature, or blood flow, or raising blisters, right? And within this phenomena would happen. You give them the suggestion and it would happen. Many of you, I think, are familiar with the techniques of hypnosis. And so Quimby took this idea and he said, well, there's something here, there's something here. But rather than giving them the suggestion, he would put people into a trance-like state, but rather than giving them the suggestion to raise blisters, he gave them the suggestion to change their belief, which would bring about a physical healing and a more abundant and fulfilling life. And so from this hypnotic state, he helped them embody the truth, to really believe the truth that wholeness and well-being is their innate state, their innate nature. And once they were convinced of this, right, the experience of illness began to resolve itself, and wholeness is revealed. So, and his practice really flourished. People were coming to him for these healings, and a lot of people claimed to be healed by Quimby, and his practice really took off, including Mary Baker Eddy, who went on to found Christian Science. But she also dismissed Quimby afterwards and didn't want anything to do with him, and rejected the notion that she went to him for healing, which she did, and he healed her. But, she wanted to claim it for herself. She was an interesting character. And then after Quimby, New Thought pioneers kind of gave up this idea that we needed to be hypnotized, but still they knew that we needed to be in a receptive consciousness. We needed to create receptivity in our consciousness. So these New Thought pioneers, we see Myrtle and Charles Fillmore here, who are the co-founders of Unity. And people like Warren Felt Evans and Emma Curtis Hopkins, who was known as the teacher of teachers. So these guys took these ideas expressed by the transcendentalists and combined them with Eastern thought, ancient wisdom, the ancient Vedas, also Greek philosophers, and combine this and other philosophers that were, becoming well known in Europe at the time, and then blended all these with the basic core principle of prayer as taught by Jesus, and developed a method for affirmative prayer that worked. And each of these leaders and individuals they worked with received dramatic healings using this formula. This picture of Myrtle Fillmore here, she healed herself of tuberculosis, which back then was a death sentence. Right? She used these techniques to heal that, and she completely recovered. And then her husband said, well, what are you doing here? I want to learn this, because he had a bum leg. And so he learned this and began to use these ideas and healed his leg. And then people found out about what they were doing, and they were flocking to them for these concepts. And they both started writing them down, writing the formula, really this method, the step-by-step method for affirmative prayer. And so they, many other people were healed of pneumonia, of addiction, of relationship difficulties. And so word of these healings began to spread, and the New Thought movement was really born. And they kind of proved that this is not weird. It's not magical. It's not someone wills with their, the power of their mind. It's not something that only a few enlightened masters can do. It's something that we can all do. And this idea that we can create a joyous, fulfilling, love-filled, abundant life is a natural process. It's completely natural process, and anyone can use it. Anyone can use it. So I go into more of this history and also the concepts behind affirmative prayer in my book. So if you're interested, you can find out more about that. But let's look at what really affirmative prayer is here. In essence, affirmative prayer is a process for releasing our attachment to the temporary world of effect, right? We're releasing that temporary world of effect. We're getting into receptive mode. We want to get into that receptive mode. And from that place, we embrace our divine identity. And then once we're in alignment, in other words, we've tuned that dial to that broadcasting source. And then from that place, we claim and accept our specific good out of the field of limitless possibility. It is a field of limitless possibility. And from that place, we're accepting and claiming our good. And then we just embrace it with gratitude, right? And we release it to the source. Okay, so I think I have one more slide here. Looks like Jeff wants to is entered the waiting room. Should I let him in? Oh, somebody did. Okay. Okay. All right. So this is Ernest Holmes, who Science of Mind. And he says, and remember, he called it spiritual mind treatment. So he refers to it as treatment. He says one's entire treatment is based on the assumption that there is a spiritual pattern at the center of everything. The perfect was always there. It was implanted by spirit. The imperfect has been added by the human mind. What the human mind has put there, it can take away. What the divine has implanted cannot be uprooted. It can only appear to be covered up. Spiritual mind practice is an uncovering of the divine nature. So that's another way to look at it, that using this formula for treatment or affirmative prayer is uncovering what we have put there, uncovering the wholeness and the love and the joy, which are the spiritual truths of the universe and of us, right? That's the spiritual truth of us. We are uncovering it so that it can express fully. All right. So how is this all sitting with you guys? I'm going to stop sharing right now. I know we're going to take a break and come back and have more of a Q&A, but I just kind of want to check in with you and see how this is sitting with you.
That I'd say it's going well, and feel free as a group to, if you have a question about anything she's presented, to ask it right now. It's great. We will have the Q&A. That's another time to ask more in-depth questions.
Okay.
I love how it's being presented, Victoria. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Good. All right. Good. All right, so there is one more thing I want to talk about. We're actually going to go into this process together of affirmative prayer, and I'm going to invite you to do it with me. So be thinking of something that you have going on in your life that maybe you'd like to think about something you'd like to change, some opening you'd like to have, some good, greater good that you'd like to realize. And you're going to, you know, hold that as we go through this. But I first want to talk about this idea of getting into this creating this idea of receptivity. We're creating receptivity in our consciousness, which really means we are shifting into a higher vibration. This is what we want to do, is get into this receptive higher vibration. So here's the understanding. We are multidimensional beings, right? Multidimensional beings. We have a body and a personality. We have a mental and emotional body. We have a higher consciousness part of us, right? There's also the part of us, in fact, it is the largest part of us, that is our infinite divine self. So this is the place that is wholeness, that is love, and this is who we truly are. And this energy carries a vibration. And it's this vibration that we want to access. And that's what the first 3 steps of affirmative prayer is about. Getting into that vibration. All right, so has everybody thought of something that they would like to keep in mind during this process that we're going to do together? Okay, great. All right, so what do we got here? Oh, I got to share my screen again. I have slides for this, and you can either look at the slides, but you can also close your eyes. It might be helpful to kind of close your eyes and go through this, you know, and to really connect with your heart. From current slide. Okay. So here are the 5 steps, right? The first is relaxation. Then we have focus, meditation, contemplation. Those are those first 3 steps I talked about. And then there's realization, and finally gratitude and release. All right. So the first step is relaxation. So just settle back and take a nice deep breath in. And if it's comfortable, close your eyes or just gaze softly down. Keep breathing. You're relaxing your physical body. With each breath, relaxing your physical body, relaxing the past, the to-do list, the rest of the evening or week, relaxing into this present moment. And relax into your heart center. Breathe into your heart center. You're also relaxing the attachment to the temporary world of effect, the world of form and experience. Remember, that's all temporary. It comes and goes. So we're going to relax our attachment to it. Take our mind off of that, because we're going to reach a higher vibration. So the next step is focus. So now that we've relaxed this temporary world of form, relaxed our attachment to it, we can breathe and enter a higher realm. This realm of the absolute, the divine presence, the divine light, that love, intelligence, which creates, guides, and governs the entire universe, has created, guided, and governs our lives. So we're now open to that realm of the absolute, that divine presence. And knowing that everything is an expression of that, all of life is an expression of that one divine life. And so are you. In fact, you are an idea in the mind of the universe. You are God's idea of itself in expression. You are God's idea of itself in expression. So everything that is true of God or source or whatever you want to call it is true of you. We talked about the qualities of this one. That is love. That is peace. That is divine order. That is wholeness and well-being. That is beauty. That is wisdom, guidance, intelligence. That is joy and fulfillment. You know, this idea of coming to fruition, of fulfillment, that is part of the universe. That is infinite abundance of all good. So breathe that in. That is what God is. It is what you are right now. May not look like that in this moment, but in the absolute, that is the absolute truth of you. Then in meditation contemplation, the next step, we're just going to take this a little deeper, right into the core of our being and really allow it to vibrate within your entire being. Feel it resonating there, these qualities of that infinite presence. Feel that I live, move, and have my being in this infinite love, in this infinite peace. It's right here. So breathe that in and feel that that is the truth of you now. And all of the qualities, including the quality that is behind whatever it is that you would love to have an answer to, whatever it is that you'd like to bring into your life, what opening, what change you'd like, how you'd like to open and expand your life. Think of what the quality is behind that. So if it's healing, that quality is wholeness and divine order. If it's prosperity, that quality is infinite, unbounded abundance. If it's a more fulfilling job, that quality is fulfillment, is this idea of coming to fruition, of experiencing realized potential. If it's guidance in what direction I need to take in life, that is wisdom, that is intelligence and divine guidance. This is the quality that is right here within you in this moment. Breathe that in. It's already here. It's already now. It's already yours. And this next step of realization, okay? So whatever it is that you desire is already an idea in the mind of the universe. In fact, it's already the truth of you. You are feeling it as a desire only because the universe is knocking at the door of your consciousness saying, hey, this is yours. This is already yours. Accept it. Accept it. Align all levels of your being with this truth that you already are, this absolute truth. Feel it with every fiber of your being. And now we're going to make it real by activating the power of imagination. So using this power of imagination that we all have, just imagine this desire realized. Whatever it is you want to bring into your life or heal. What does it feel like? It's here. It's now. What does that feel like? What does it look like? How are you being? How are you expressing? Is there a different energy about you? Is there more feeling of freedom, of expansion in your life, of joy, of love, a greater experience of love? Allow yourself to feel the feelings that that brings up when you visualize and imagine that. Allow yourself to feel that. So naturally, what is bubbling up here is a feeling of gratitude. Oh, it feels so good to have this. I am immersed in gratitude, which is the next step here. We're experiencing this bubbling up of gratitude. And it's not grateful to God for finally answering our prayer. We're grateful. I am grateful for the reawakening in my consciousness of who I am, of who I truly am. I am so grateful to know, to remember who I truly am. I'm so grateful to know that this is already mine, that this divine quality is already here now, that this truth is already here in the absolute. And gratitude, just allow this gratitude to well up within you for this. It's here now. You don't have to make it happen or manipulate events or wish or hope or even wait. You need only accept the truth that it is already so. Breathe that in. It's accepting the truth that is so. I'm so grateful that it is here now, and it just simply blossoms in the right time, in the right way into my experience. And this final part now is just releasing it. It's time to release it. And you're releasing your attachment to how you think it should look. And instead, you're listening to the guidance within, to the inner wisdom, which is guiding you into activity in your life in the perfect right way. I am listening to the inner wisdom. What is it that I need to do? Where do I need to go? What do I need to say and to whom? My every thought, my every word, my every activity is divinely inspired and guided. I release it all into the universe, into the energy of the universe, and I'm paying attention now to synchronicities. I'm paying attention and moving forward into action, following the guidance. All right, take a nice deep breath in with me together. And so it is. And that's how we end this. And so it is. Okay. And so it is. All right, let's come on back and be together again. Good. All right. So how was that for you? How was that experience for you? And if anybody wants to take themselves off mute and share about that.
I'll share, and the others can share too. I just break the ice. Yeah, I definitely had a deepening, and I caught myself. There's a couple of times I came awake and I was like sinking, and I was like, whoa, you just come back, it's and not in a bad way, just in depth. And I was so far into it, and came back out of it. So it was kind of in there and then back out, and in there and back out. So it was nice.
That's it. You got it. Right. Good.
Yes,
Anybody
that
else
was
want to share their?
awesome. Yes, it was awesome. Thank you
Oh.
so much.
Yeah. Good. You are so welcome.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I enjoyed that very much.
All right. Wonderful.
How about you, Chuck?
I just got in the tail end of that.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, I'm traveling and I just realized, oh, I guess I can join.
We're good. Yeah. Well, I think it's being recorded, so you can go back and listen to it again and watch it again.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
I see Jeff's. Jeff, did you have a comment?
Oh, yes, I thought it was an awesome experience, and yeah, very good explanation of yes, letting go and allowing for guidance and inspired action. Yes, something I'm working through. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. Great.
I'm just thinking that this might be a good time for us to take a little bio break and then come back and really, think about your questions. Is that good, Smith?
I think that would work great. Is that good with everybody else? Just wave or we'll just do it. And Victoria, last word.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Pay attention to, we've done this really powerful affirmative prayer. So pay attention to what is opening up in the next days and weeks. Okay.
And
Okay.
may I say there are about 4 different Unity churches in the area. Definitely go check them out. Go to the websites, and if you're in Durham, in Raleigh, and in Chapel Hill, just check them out. You'll be amazed, and I think it'll enhance your spirituality.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thanks, Stephen.
Right.
All right, everybody. Thank
Bye,
you and good night.
Good night.
See you next
Bye.
month.